wants to tame me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. It feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, go like thunder, gonna sacred ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, I'm Wyatt Milam. I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Par-Mar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Oh, yeah, and welcome to the WolfMan's Call. Whatever you do, don't adjust your stats for your computer, your phone. That's right, because I am in the dark and the power is out. But you know what? We've been going ahead and pumping up Pallet Mini chargers right there, baby. That's what we're running on. It's big time. Give me a howl on that. Woo! That's right. Because there we go. You just saw it. Penn State every day is getting closer and closer and closer. And as I know, it's one of the toughest places I've ever played. And the guest today was Steve Dunlap, Hall of Famer, man, the guru of defenses. He's going to be able to tell us exactly what it's like to go ahead and play and coach at Penn State. But first, we're going to have to do this. And that, of course, is go ahead over our network right now. And boy, I tell you, it's a good thing I can see in the dark. But let's start off in Morgantown, the WolfMan's Call Network. Going with Aaron Gizzi right there at Lakeview with Legends Sports Bar and Grill. Going to go right over Morgantown there to the Mountaineer Tap House with Mel. Make sure you take care of her wonderful person. And how about Steve Reese, Morgantown, Mason Jar Saloon and Hotspot. And then Steve Reese again, you move down to Fairmont and you go ahead and you see the Mason Jar BBQ and More. Unbutton those britches. And of course, we're going to hit the Brickside Bar and Grill in Bridgeport with Rob Davis. And down Teays Valley, the Pallet Bar, 24 craft beers. You got a tip. You got Haley and Aubrey. You got to tip them. And then Route 22, Weirton, West Virginia. Really cool. Route 22. You got to love that. I totally dig it. 12 50-inch TVs, all for a big one. You can't even see me because I'm in the dark, but it doesn't matter. Welcome, everybody, and we are here to rock and roll, and you can see that. And the guest I have today is really, really special. As I bring him on up, I want to put this up first because I think it's important to go over with what he's actually done here in the community, and that is to put it up. There we go. Very nice. Again, this is all in the dark. I am very talented, extremely talented. As I do this and I say this, you can see 35 years of coaching. And he's a player for WVU. He's a Hall of Fame Steve Dunlap, 1973 to 75. He served on 16 staffs for bowl games, including the 1988 National Championship game. 1996 as a defensive coordinator for the Mountaineers under Coach Don Nehlen. He was number ranked in the nation. I can't wait till he talks to us about that. Again, he was a 3-year letter winner, 73 to 75. He still holds the records for total tackles in a season, 190, Tackles in a single game, 28. I want to know who was recording that, number one. And he's also still ranks number 10 on the school's career tackle list with 359 with only 3 years because freshmen couldn't play. Look at that right there. 35 years of coaching experience. Top dog. He's the guru, as I told you. And we're just getting so many great people on this show, all on the WolfMan's Call, even if it's in the dark. All right, here we go. Coach Steve Dunlap. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. As you can see here, no power, Pallet mini batteries, getting it done right here, going hotspot, going out of broadcasting, and the studio's about 100 degrees right now, and I'm just loving it. How about you?
We're up here in Canada. It's nice and cool.
Up there. Hey, tell everybody why you're up in Canada.
Why I'm there? So I can fish every day. My wife's family came up here, and their grandparents came up here. So the legacy goes way back. Her mom and dad met here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've enjoyed it for I don't know how many years, but quite a few. So, all right, Coach. Well, let's go back to the beginning of here before we even get started on today's defense and yesterday's defense. And before we even get into that, let's talk about the recruiting and how you recruited me to WVU. It's your fault.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I need to take my Ranger Bass Boat fishing hat off and put my Mountaineer hat on since we're talking about the Mountaineers. What do you think of that?
I think that sounds pretty good.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well,
tell me the story of you recruiting me.
Well, this is my chance to get even because you're a pain in the butt. You know that, huh?
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying it, man. I'm letting you tell the story.
Well, the Wolfley brothers became famous because your previous two brothers became really, really good players and professional football players, and you were just in a long line of the next guy up. So you got recruited pretty heavy, as you well know. And I think it got down to Syracuse, West Virginia, and Penn State. Is that true?
Correct.
And, of course, your brothers, they were all for you going to Penn State, right?
No, not at all.
I thought you were going to kill each other in the front yard one day. And I'm sitting up in the kitchen with your mom. You said, oh, the boys will be the boys. And I thought you were going to duke it out because you were not going to Penn State. They didn't care where you go, but you weren't going to Penn State. Okay? Is that true?
Not a chance.
But anyway, you came back from your visit to from Penn State, and one of the assistant coaches took you over to Beaver Stadium. And in that day, it was an ugly stadium. It was all gray superstructure from the outside. And the coach said to you, just look at that. Doesn't it look like a battleship? And you came back and told me, it looks just like a battleship. I said, you've been psychoanalyzed. You lost your mind or what? You remember that?
Yeah, I just got one question. Was my voice really that high?
Yes, back in the day.
All right, right on. All right, Coach. Well, so we got in the recruiting battle, and it was tough. I mean, Penn State was in it, good. Coach McPherson for Syracuse, he was pretty heavy into it, and it was a tough decision because remember, Syracuse was extremely competitive back then.
Absolutely.
Yep. And although even though you coached there for a number of years, and I decided to come to WVU, and back then coaches could come and stay over the night before, or not really stay over, but at least be there for signing day. And you came up to Orchard Park, New York, Buffalo. A blizzard came with you.
A blizzard.
Go ahead.
Well, traditionally back in those days, the coaches on the signing day would travel all over hell to be at each kid's signing. So you might be the first one at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and it might go to 5 in the evening. So you were out of the way, in other words, in Buffalo. So I went up there, and next thing I know, I'm at your house, and I never seen that much snow come down that fast. So you guys took really good care of me. You put me in the third floor attic that had a bed on it and no heat. So I had a really nice sport coat, and suit and tie, and an overcoat, and I never took them off that night. I could see my breath. I about froze.
Well, you know what? It's quite possible that you get usually when you're living in Buffalo and you have a wood burning stove, you kind of get acclimated to that kind of cold and probably bundle up real good. But you were not ready, and if I recall, you slept with all your clothes and your overcoat on.
I didn't take anything off. I thought I was going to die that night. You could come up and find me frozen.
All right, Coach.
Buffalo. Had enough of that.
Yeah,
Time to go
no
south.
doubt. Yeah, you had enough of Buffalo, so you go up 150 miles north, and now you're in Canada. So there you go. Go figure, right? That's karma. Karma.
Then let's talk about the night you broke into my hotel room about 2 weeks before that. You and Blake Bednarz and started throwing me up and down in the bed.
Oh, we always did have. Yeah, I remember that. We always did have wanting to be in WWF wrestling. Oh, that was back. That was back when times were a little bit different. Players can't do that stuff nowadays, and recruits and all that good stuff. But all right, so a little bit of fun out of the way now. But let's go ahead and get into your playing days. How did you ever get 28 tackles in a game? Who was taking those stats? That's what I want to know.
Well, it was my coach, Donnie Young. You know, Donnie Young is famous at WVU for a lot of reasons, but he's from my area, and he recruited me, and God knows what he saw in me. I was 5'11", 188 pounds. I mean, corners are bigger than that now. So everybody said I paid him off. That's what they said. So we played. I don't
know if you played him off, but boy, I tell you what, 28 tackles in one game, that's a lot of Gatorade.
Let's explain how that happened, Wolf, okay? We were playing Boston College, okay? And they beat us 35-3, and they ran the ball 55 times. Now, somebody has to make the tackle, and most of them are 5 yards down the field. So we got our brains beat in, and I got to go on Coach Bowden's TV show the next day. Yippee-yi-yo.
That's a big deal now, back then especially with Coach B. All right, so listen, I've had all of your buddies on here, the Band of Brothers, all those guys in the 70s, and you were in the 75 Peach Bowl. And we were just talking about being a Mountaineer and the way it was, and from the guys in the 60s to the 70s to the 80s in my time and up through the 2000s. And really in Mountaineer football, the history we're blue collar.
Absolutely. It's all about the work ethic and having a chip on your shoulder. Well, you know, typical West Virginia stuff you got to hear all the time, which is basically we always said, we'll show you, and we did.
Yep. And we did. And you know what? I always thought, like, even if we didn't beat you because we were not as talented or whatever happened in that game, we were going to beat you up. And you were going to be in a game, and you're going to know that you were in a physicality game where, you know, it took you some time to recover.
You know, that's a funny thing. You know, Coach Nealon coming from the Big Ten and the physicality was a big part of his belief. And I don't know if you remember this, but when he first came around, he would grab everybody's arm and be down in the weight room and encourage them to get bigger and stronger and tell them how big and strong they are and all that stuff. Then he'd get in the meetings with the assistant coaches and say, we're not quite there yet, but guess what? Make them think they're good anyway. So it worked.
Yeah, it sure did, because I had no problem believing I was good. I'll tell you that. Maybe too much easy. It was too easy for me. But regardless, let's get into now. You're moving on from your playing career with Mountaineers and starting out. How did your coaching career start out? You were GA, where not at WVU, but then you went somewhere else.
Well, here's the thing, Wolf. But I changed my major in college, and I got behind a semester. You know, we don't get 5 or 6 years back then. You got 4.
Right.
And I needed another semester to graduate. And Coach Young said, "Why don't you be a graduate assistant?" And I said, "You pay my way to school." And he said, "Sure." So I became a student assistant the first year. I had one. So next thing you know, I graduated from college the next year at Christmas time. So what do you do at Christmas? Well, I don't have anything better to do. So he said, "Why don't you be a graduate assistant?" And I said, "Okay, I'll try," because I had no idea I was going to be a coach. And next thing you know, I got the coaching bug, and I was fascinated with football, and I always was anyway. Playing linebacker, you have a lot to do with everything, coverage, front, and everything like that. So it was just a natural fit.
Absolutely. And when you were coaching, what was the major defense back then? What was it? Was it 5-2? Was it 4-3? It wasn't quite that. It was more 5-2, wasn't it?
Well, we were multiple. I mean, we could be in a 4-man front. We could be in a 4-3, or we'll be in what we call the under front, which is basically a 5-2. So our Simon linebacker had to be pretty flexible. He had to play up in the line of scrimmage on the tight end, and he also play off the ball. So we were pretty multiple. And the way we got to by with that, we flip-flopped all our people. So the 3 technique, the guy played on the guard all the time, was always that guy. We just flip him back and forth. And the guy that played the 5 technique, we called it, played outside shoulder, the defensive end would play. He was always the same guy. And what we basically did, we cut our coaching, our teaching in half, so we could just do more.
Yep, absolutely. But I think too, in the simplicity of that, like you said, coaching in half, because I remember I had to go up against Mike Fox every day as a 3 technique. He's always over me, the guard, and it didn't change very often. Before that, because we were always a strong right team. I was the right guard. So Foxy,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yep. Okay,
I feel
coach.
bad for you. I feel bad for you because Mike Fox had lost his mind. Here, that's a great example. You want to talk about a kid from Akron, Ohio. He was in our weight room back in the day when it was down in our stadium, and this is summertime, and I come walking through there, and there's this big, tall, skinny kid, and I thought he was a basketball player. I said, "What are you doing here? Why aren't you over at the Coliseum?" He says, "My name's Mike Fox." You know how big he was? He was 6'7". He weighed 215.
Yep.
4 years later, he leaves at 295, and he's a 2nd-round draft pick and played 12 years in the NFL. So there you go.
And 2 Super Bowl rings. 2 Super Bowl rings.
And that too, yes.
Yeah. And he ate a pizza. His room was right next to mine, and he ate a pizza every day, and he would not share. No matter what, he ate the whole pizza every day besides all the other food he would eat. And that's how he got up to 290 4 years later. But he never shared, ever shared. And he's like, no, get out of here.
That's it.
All right. Well, cool. All right. So let's get into your coaching and the way it was back then. And tell me about the coaching staffs and how they're organized and how you grew up and how you learned.
Well, here's the thing. But Frank Signetti was the head coach then, and I was lucky enough to be around a lot of really good coaches. But the nemesis for Frank Signetti, he changed defenses every year. So my first year there, Greg Williams was not the Greg Williams everybody knows, but the Greg Williams at NC State with me. But he was a defensive coordinator when we played a little bit of the same front. Then next thing you know, Donnie Young was a defense coordinator in 77, 78. We played the knockdown 50 defense from Florida State with Nick Saban and all that stuff here. Then Gary Tranquil comes in and plays Ohio State's 5-2 defense. So I didn't have to go anywhere. I learned a lot of defense just by watching. I also learned what was good and what was bad. So that was a big plus for me.
Well, I bet. And when you talk about that and you're learning it, when you were GA, you was back when there was film and you had to cut that and splice that film up yourself, if I recall, because I had to do that myself. And you had it worse. You guys had to take it up to like Waynesburg or somewhere up there, didn't you?
No, every Tuesday and Wednesday, somebody had to get in the state car and drive to Oakland Avenue right there in the middle of Pittsburgh, where the University of Pittsburgh is, at WRS Studios, and sit around for 3 or 4 hours while they developed the film and got home at 1 or 2 in the morning. Then had to cut the film up, cutting it up by meaning take the inside reel and splice it on one reel and the skeleton on another reel and all that stuff. Or you had to get up early in the morning, 6 in the morning, and have it done by 8 o'clock when the coaches come in. So that's real high tech.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I can remember, now we didn't have it that bad. By the time I took over as graduate assistant, we could do it there at the facilities.
Right.
But I remember sleeping underneath my desk because there's only one GA for offense, one GA for defense.
Exactly.
Back then, they got it easy now.
Yeah, there's a little small army now. They said when Nick Saban has a staff meeting now, there's 38 people in the room. 38.
38
That's crazy.
people. I remember being in Coach Nealon's staff room, and I was on the little table. Remember the GAs? We had the
Yeah.
little table. You had the big table, all the coaches and the GAs. We had the little table sitting to the side, and everybody just abusing us all the time. Of you old dogs. All right. Well, let's get into your career. Moving on up here, and how has football really changed from the time you started? What you're seeing, your thoughts on fundamentals. Let's just cover the whole gambit, and everything. We're going to go from the defensive side. That's what you have done. So, how has the game really evolved from when you started to? We'll get up to nowadays.
Well, when we basically started, everybody was basically a two-back team. Everybody had a fullback or two running backs in the backfield, and it was all about power football and play action pass, and that was that. And I'll never forget one year we played Temple, and they went to a one-back sit, and I said, "What are they doing? What is that?" They had them all spread out all across the field, and it's just a progression. They went. Everybody was in a huddle, and they wanted to possess the clock and keep the defense off the field, which nobody seems to care about anymore. So they just basically want to outscore you. So between getting the huddle and the two-back sets to hurry up our offense now, and no backs in the backfield or four wides all the time and all that sort of thing, it's really changed. No power football anymore. It's all zone blocking.
Yeah, which I don't really care for too much. I still like the gap blocking that they do. I like that, gaps and pulling around, but we don't have that man on man anymore. Really, I remember. And again, I go back to Mike Fox, but he taught me how to play the game a lot of ways because I had to go one-on-one with him, and
made you a better player.
Yep, totally. So
well, here's you know what gap blocking does. Gap blocking that people don't understand is basically whichever lineman you have or the tight end, they're going to block the gap down inside. They got angles on the guy they're blocking. They don't have to block them head up. They block down on them, and they can move and displace them. And to me, that's a lot easier block. So it's compared to zone blocking. And zone blocking is always confusion. When two guys get on one, who comes off first and who comes off and that sort of thing. So, and it's also boring to me. Now the RPOs have become a big part of it too, off the zone. The RPOs. I remember when Baylor first started doing that a few years ago. I mean, they had linemen down the field, Wolf, 3 or 4 yards down the line of scrimmage, blocking the linebackers, and they're throwing the ball, which is total bull. They finally started calling that. You just can't do that. I mean, you can't have play action pass with a lineman down the field.
Well, that was Art Briles that was doing that, and they would go ahead. I'll tell you what, that was definitely taking advantage, and they still do that to some degree today. I think it's still the RPO is a total screw. The screw button to the defense. I mean, it's hard to win when you think about it because you're always taking a look at where they're placed. And if you're good at you got to be good on the offense to understand it, though. You got to understand where the weaknesses are. But if you do, the RPO can be really a screw job to a defense.
Well, sure, because our safeties used to key the uncovered lineman. So if you had a guard who didn't have a defensive lineman in front of him, and he came down the field 3 yards or 4 yards and block a linebacker, he's coming to support, which leaves a great big void behind him for the quick slant by the receiver and the RPO. So it's real problematic.
Coach, one of the things I wanted to bring you on here about was to talk coverages. Okay, you've coached every position. Every position. Every scheme, I think, is possible. Like I said, you're a guru. You're probably the most skilled defensive coach WVU has ever had. And I'm just saying that, not because you recruited me, but I think it's well known that you are that guy with that brain. So when we talk about this pass coverage, where has the coverages come? And can you explain some of the modern day coverages right now? I know it's verbal. You don't have your grease board, and slow down for me because I'm not as quick as you are. But man, I'll tell you what, I know you have so much knowledge up there.
Well, what's happened now is with all these players, transferring all over the place. I mean, we kept guys in our program for 3 or 4 years, and by the time their second year, they become very, very viable, and you could do a lot more things because they understood the coverages. The hardest thing to teach is zone coverage. Because all the intricacies and things you have to do. Do you play inside, outside, and your keys and reads and all that stuff? Well, that takes time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you're plugging corners and safeties. And last year, what we do, we lost 3 corners and the safety. And you just don't replace the knowledge. You bring a guy in that has 3 different names for the same coverage now. One calls purple, one calls orange, and the other one calls apples. And it's all the same thing to kid, but it's confusing because teams go really fast now. So It seems like to me, a lot of people playing 3D, which is pretty simple, or man-free, basically a cat defense. You got that cat, I got that cat, that sort of thing, because it's simple. Now, the biggest problem with that, Wolf, is if you become very simple on defense, you also become very simple to attack. So I don't see a lot of fire zone defenses anymore. I just, here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. Let me give you one of my calls, okay? And count the words. 83, I cross, 2, check 5. Okay? That's
right.
7 words. 45, bolt. Okay? Peak, 2. That's 5 words. You can't do that anymore. You got to say apples. And they got to know the front. They got to know the coverage. And why they do that? Because they're in a hurry up offense. You don't have time to call those things. So everything's got to build in. And you have guys out there that wasn't even on your team last year playing. So that just makes for more mistakes, and it just becomes chaos. And it's very, very tough on a defensive coach right now.
Were you ever in favor of cover 2 to one side, cover 4 to the other, cover 6, we call it, or anything like man on one side, zone on the other? Did you ever? I know you were big into the fire zone defense with the blitz.
We had a lot of fire zone defense, and that's because a guy named Marvin Lewis. I used to go spend a lot of time in Pittsburgh, and they'd actually let you watch all the cut-ups. They wouldn't tell you how they did it or what you did it. But if you stay up there long enough and spend enough days up there, you can figure it out. Even dumb as I was, I could figure it out. And I did figure it out. And we got ahead of the curve on fire zones. I mean, you realize the 96 team, we had 60 sacks that year. In 2 years, we had 100 sacks. Are you kidding me? 100 sacks in 2 years? I mean, it was amazing. So the thing that everything evolves and what evolved then would become 7-man protection. We were rushing 5 in the fire zone. So they had 7 to block, and time broke that coverage down. So everybody started running the same blitzes as fire zone, except they started playing man with it instead of zone.
It's so funny how things, I keep saying the wheel spins and the wheel returns. And, the fullback is gone, but he's coming back, or H-back, however they're doing it, but things are coming back to air raid. And now it's coming back to more of a more physicality game with the running. But what was the main coverages back then? Was it cover 2, cover 3 when you were in the 80s and 90s?
We played a lot on what we call high safeties, which was quarter coverage all the way across, which basically, because you could disguise it. Basically, if you played quarters coverage, the corners were on their own. They're playing. We had some awful good corners, Mike Logan, Aaron Beasley, and you name it.
Right.
Alvoid Mays. I mean, there's a bunch of really good corners. So we had good corners we could put more pressure on. But the beauty of those coverages, it was disguise. Just because you think we're in that coverage, we may not be, because both safeties were 10 yards deep. They may go back and play half coverage and roll both corners up and knock the heck out of the right receivers, or both safeties may be run supporting in quarters coverage. Or, like you said, it might be half coverage, double the receiver on one side and play read support with the safety on the other side. So we were very multiple. That was the base coverages. Then we'd morph into fire zones and roll the coverage strong and weak and play different kinds of 3D and that sort of thing. So we did a lot of different things.
Yeah, you sure did. And I guess I really just try to get at from then to now, what are they doing now? How is cover 4 has really changed in my point of view, as I've seen it evolve over the years. And where do you see it right now?
Well, a lot of people, Wolf, try to manipulate quarters coverage, which let's explain what quarters coverage is. Basically, the corners are man to man. You got two safeties sitting there 10 yards. You're not sure if they're going to go back and play what we call half coverage and roll the corner up or be run supporters. Those two safeties are looking at the number two receiver. If four receivers go vertical, all four of them are playing basically man to man on those four guys. Okay. If the number two receiver doesn't go vertical, that safety can cut out and double number one.
Right.
The number widest receiver. That's the way it works. But people start manipulating these coverages now. And I think that's where they get in trouble. I used to put tags on coverages if I wanted to play it different. I didn't teach it different every week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that coverage you're talking about was, cover four, and cover four we'd say force steal or put little tags on the back end of it to tell them what to do. I didn't want players that in the heat of the game try to do something that they've heard for 2 days in practice. I want to build into the system. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It does, because defense, it's all about reaction. And when you have to think, obviously, that takes a longer reaction, right? It slows you down.
Exactly.
And so if you had to coach today's game right now, because you just got done a few years ago. So if you had to come back out, what system would you use?
Well, first of all, your base is probably nickel, 5 defensive backs, and I would play with what we call big nickel, would be 3 safeties and 2 corners, or regular nickel, which would be 3 corners and 2 safeties, because the guy on the slot's the hardest guy to cover, and you don't want a safety on him most of the time. You'd rather have a corner on him, okay?
Right.
So that's your base, and I would tell you the truth, I'd pressure more. I don't see anybody pressuring people, and I don't see very many. There's different ways to run zone coverages. You can blitz 5 and play 2 deep with, and just give up the middle dropper and just seal off the inside, or you can play it in a 3 deep fire zone matchup, or you can play with man free. So I think it is, Wolf, all I see is 3 and 4 man rushes and the quarterback back there patting the ball. I just don't see a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And you know what? You want to stop a passing game? Get to the source. That's the guy throwing the ball.
Yep, absolutely. And I think with these 3-man rushes, I was just watching the TCU WVU game, and there's a lot of 3-man rush. And if a quarterback can sit there all day, you can find cracks in the zone. I mean,
Exactly.
the offenses now are saying, listen, if there's a guy over here, run to where there's a guy that's not. Right. I mean,
Right.
that's how the whole air raid started. And I got a film on that to back it up. But okay, so I'm going to ask you one more question, because I'm just fascinated about the secondary. Right now, today's game, with your apples, with, you can't do 5-word defenses because they're going hurry, with all that in there. How much easier, and the reason why we see so much man coverage, okay, because corners turns into man now for those corners anyways. So
Yes.
you see all this man coverage going on. Is it just because it's easier?
Well, it is. It's easier to teach from the start, and
Right.
I think right now the offense has such an advantage with the hurry up and the spread offenses, and every major rule that's been made the last 10 or 15 years has been for offense. Basically, you can hold all you want unless you just drag them down in front of the quarterback, which they'll call that. But basically, you can hold, and RPOs, you can run down the field and block. And I mean, it's just that's what people want. They want 50 to 48. 13 to 10 sounds better to me.
Well, it would sound better to you, that's for sure. All right, Coach. How about this? Let's see. Question here. What was the team you hated to play every year? You feared nobody.
East Carolina.
East Carolina. Why?
Steve Logan. He was a pain
The
in the
gambler.
butt.
The gambler,
Yeah,
right?
but you know what? He was a great coach. They beat Miami. You know that. That's when Miami was really Miami. So he had an athletic quarterback. He had to deal with quarterback runs. He'd run option football, and he had a pro passing type with spread offense. He was a pain in the butt. Just schematically, he just became a problem.
Okay. I'm going to give you another choice, too, because I'd like to hear that. That's really I had never expected you to say Steve Logan. That really is interesting.
Well, the
Who
second
else?
one would be playing Navy, playing the wishbone. That's a nightmare. It kept me up all night. That's the second one.
Yeah, I should have excluded that. I didn't think about that. I should have excluded that. What was your things about power football? How did you stop power football back in the day when they're running, your counters, you're running your isos, you're running your outside sweeps? How did you go ahead and defend that?
Well, if they're running lead back stuff, isolations, we'd like to move the down lineman because you're all man blocking. Other words, the guy playing outside shoulder to the tackle's blocking him. As soon as I rip him down inside, he might miss him and create penetration for people to run lead plays, which is isolation. Now, isolate people, what's an isolation? Well, you double a nose guard and you take the fullback and lead him on the linebacker. They isolate him to create two gaps to defend. So that would be, probably I'd move the line more than I normally did. So.
Okay. And I'm going to give you this one other question here. You can handle this politically. I know you're suave enough to do so. Where do you think Jordan Leslie is in his career right now?
I just think it's tough on him because he keeps losing all these players. I mean, you just imagine your top three corners left last year. Top three. We replaced them with what? Colorado State, Murray State. Really? I mean,
see, that's my whole point. Right?
Nothing against those players, but guess what? They haven't seen any cats like we're playing against. Right?
They haven't seen Xavier Worthy run right by him.
So I just think it's. Here's the thing. I'm not talking about just West Virginia. I'm talking about the upper middle programs. To me, West Virginia is probably at least in the top 30 or 40 programs in the country out of the 120 1A programs, right? So they're all going to struggle because the rich just got richer. Okay, you're going to see the top 25 pretty much be the top 25 every year because they have the resources. And so every time West Virginia would develop a player, he may leave because that's what they keep doing. We lost our receivers this year too. So I think it's just tough on these programs, especially West Virginia. We don't have a lot of homegrown talent that are loyal to West Virginia and want to stay here.
No, we don't. All right, Coach. Well, listen, I appreciate you. I know you got Wendy up there with you, your wife, and we love her. I mean, she's as much Mountaineer as anybody with what the coaches' wives have had to put through all in your 35 years between here, Syracuse, and Navy. Oh, where's the other stop? You went to North Carolina. You're defensive coordinator at
North Carolina State. Yeah. Here's the thing you really want to know about West Mountaineers and Steve Dunlap. Steve Dunlap always wanted to be a Mountaineer, never wanted to go anywhere else. That's my home, and that's where I love it.
Yep, it always has been, and that's why you're in the Hall of Fame, man. Coach, you recruited me to WVU. Thanks so much. Totally love it. We'll have to have you back on because you can do your pregame, postgame over on one of the stations there. Who are you with? West Virginia Radio, right?
Yep, Hoppy Kirchville. Yep.
I don't know, Hoppy. I'm going to tell you something. Hoppy used to come up to me and say, "Hey, Wolf, what do you think?" And I'd tell him what I think, like a dummy. He'd go on the air and he'd be like, "Well," and he'd start quoting like it was his stuff.
There you go. It still does that too.
Still does it. All right. Hey, Coach, God bless you, man. Thanks so much. And I'll talk to you real soon. Enjoy your time from somewhere in Canada.
There you go. Enjoy it, Wolf. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Oh, and here I am. Look at me. You can see my glasses. I put my glasses on right now so that you can see the globe. Hey, we are in the Wolf's den. The power is out. The power company came in and knocked something. I have no idea. But, hey, what do? We keep it going, right? Where's my QR codes? This is perfect timing. And for Ken Mercure right here, check it out. The Pallet Mini. Here we go. We're a hotspot. This is the charger right here. You can see at the bottom here. It charges up the phone. I'm bringing you the WolfMan's call from Pallet Mini batteries and rechargers. Now remember, you got to remember this. Okay, AA batteries. You'll never buy another AA battery again. It's rechargeable over 500 times. And why would you do that? $15 billion a year in alkaline batteries end up in the dumps every year. I tell you, if you go green, you're going to save green, and that's Pallet Mini batteries. What do we got here? All right, AGC, Artisan Grange Company. Switch the dip, just the hemp. Oh, man, do it the AGC way. Hershey Grange Company. You can get it there. You go to wolfmandip.com. Go ahead and scan that sucker if you need to. Go ahead, or you can go to Parmar Stores, our major sponsor, Parmar Stores. Oh man, if there's not one near you now, there will be one soon. And let's go to West Virginia United. This is Johnny Cantwell, former offensive lineman. I keep telling you about this. We need to be united. West Virginia United, this is his deal. He's got all these, you get a sticker, a car sticker for your books, sticker for whatever. They're moving in the gear. West Virginia United, more of us need to be united in West Virginia. We're not as big. We have to stay together. Let's not be divided. Let's stay united. Well, I just made that up about that rhyme right there. Not too bad. And I was talking about Parmar Stores. Let's go ahead and hear from Abby right now and get this out of the way here.
Hi, I'm Abby Pearson from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and when I'm back home, you will find me at my local Parmar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Parmar Stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
All right, and I am back. I hope this isn't freaking you out. Don't adjust your sets, your computer, your laptops, because in the WolfMan's Call, we do it all. We just go and keep on going. And speaking of going, I've been promising for a couple days about the WVU, the secondary we were just talking about with Coach Dunlap. Well, I'll tell you what, that was special. If you guys don't realize how much experience that he has in knowledge, he's such a guru. He can outcoach coaches. He has so much knowledge. And it's the old saying, the old cliche, and that is, he's forgotten more than I know, and I know a lot. And that's saying a lot for who he is. Not only is he a Hall of Fame player, he's also a Hall of Fame coach. And he had the #1 defense in 1996 just to go ahead and prove it. So we're going to go ahead and rock and roll on this right here and get this up. Let's take a look. This is from TCU last year, and this is the WVU in the secondary. Let's take a look at what we see here. And you're going to see right now, this is going to be what I think is man coverage. And when we get this going, there you go. Look at that. So you have it down there at the bottom. You have it towards the sideline. You got man coverage. You have on the hash, that's Mallinger, who's now a wide receiver. And then up top, you're going to see man coverage. You're going to see the right side backer to the boundary up there is going to go man. And look at the safety here. You see the arrow I put up? Okay, he's man free, but look at him. So this is what they're doing. Quentin Johnson, this is remember that great receiver that was drafted by TCU. What they're doing is, this is man coverage, but they're saying, we want you to go ahead and look at this cat right here, because you might have to double him. And you can see right there, what happens there is that he is faced off there. So everything is man, right? Everything is man. When you look over here, it's man. He's man free, but boys, he's focusing on there with Johnson up top. But look at here with Mallinger right there on secondary. Again, he's wide receiver now, so don't worry about this. But this is what happens. Look at the man coverage. He gets faked out, and that's just a running back. That's what happens when you go man and man free, and then you try to use that free safety to go ahead and cover over the top. So you're trying to double him. You're trying to bracket him, double team him, and they went ahead and the quarterback with this and then made a big play. Let's keep it going here. We'll see it again. And this is just nice, and you can see that there's movement. They're actually bringing more than 3 or 4, and keep that going. I just got to keep rolling in here. Just roll it. Check it out. Very nice. I like this. Yep, you got to have body control. When you play man coverage and you play off so far, that's why I talk about doing what? Getting up on the line of scrimmage, trying to redirect. Now, for a safety to get up there that tight, that's not really going to happen too often. But I want to see this, right? Those players getting up there, especially with Steve, Coach Dunlap, I should say, out of respect for my coach. And what he was saying is that these receivers in the Big 12, and then you bring these new guys in, and they have to go against this speed. There's only one way, and Aaron Beasley said the same thing. You got to get on there. You got to be physical. You got to redirect. Maybe put a backer over the top. Do something to help just to get a chip shot, just to reroute in some way. That's what we're talking about, if you understand what I mean. Now, look at this defense here. Okay, this is what I call the double eagle defense. And you can see there's a nose up on the center. There's a 3 technique, or now 4-eye there over the right tackle of the opponent. And then there's a 3 technique here with Dante Stills right there. You got Bartlett to the outside, outside backer. So really it's a 5-2 defense is what I'm getting at. I call it double eagle. And you can see right here they're doing twists and stunts. And then you have Lee Koba, the middle linebacker. He's looking for the running back. We call that red dog or green dog. What happens, he's going to see if that running back is looking to block or to go out. If the running back is going to go out, the linebacker and Koba this time would pick him up. But if he's not going to go out, you can go ahead and you can rush and be red dog, green dog. We're going to keep going on. And you see the play there. We got it. We understand in the backside. And let's move on. Yep. One more. I said move on. There you go. You can see it. Everybody's getting blocked. Put the pressure up. Nice throw. That's a nice one-on-one route. And again, we got that. Okay. Here's some fun, right? We get this here. And all right. See this? The 2 guys up top defending. Again, that's who? The number 1 receiver at TCU. And I think he was a first-round draft pick. Quinn Johnson. So it's 2-on-1, and it's going to be a high-low. And then you're going to see everybody else is they're going to rush 4, and you got man coverage. You got a clamp over here with these 2, and then you got man here on the bottom. Okay, so when you look at this, again, I want you to all soak that all in. What you have here is you see the arrow. We have 2. There's going to be 2 on him. And here we go. And then the play comes off. Very good. Oh, look at this. Now, this guy up top here on Johnson, right there, he's got a man. He's got help deep. There's no reason why he can't play him hard in man coverage. This is what I wanted to show is that this is man coverage right up top here. You can play hard and be on top of him. There's no reason. You have help over the top. No reason you can't hug him and stay with him there. That's what I really wanted to show. Again, look at the 2 down here at the bottom. We call that the clamp. We call it banjo. If the third number 3 from the bottom here on the inside, if he goes right, the one defender will take him. If he goes left, the other defender will take him. So you see that? They both jump on him here because it's just a hitch. And you see here with the inside curl. And again, I want to see him on top there. There's no reason whatsoever in this coverage why he should not be jumping on top of him. And just so you can understand it, it's a first down. That's another 3rd down pick, and they get the first down. And again, that's what we were missing. You're bringing 4, you're rushing 4. I like that. I hate rushing 3 now. I really don't. I'm tired of rushing 3. And I'm talking about defense now, just in general. Okay, let's take a look here. So what they're running is you can see right here, Sean Martin to the left. He is going to go inside. We call this double twist. Double twist, and the linebacker here, number 7, is going to go ahead, and he's going to take that running back as man coverage. But look at this now. So Dante Stills to the defensive right is going to go into the B gap to the guard, and the nose guard is going to come around. I think that's JJ, Jordan Jefferson. And then you're going to see the double twist here with Sean Martin, again, to the left of the defense. And then Jared Bartlett's going to come out, and they're going to have contain. And we're going to roll with that. Check it out. I like this. I like doing the arrows, man. Watch it. You want to know football? There's some football for you. And if I didn't have a blackout, I was going to have Coach Dunlap go ahead and break this down with me. But just too difficult with the Mystic Storage. Again, look at that. Play him hard. Play him tight. Don't have to be so far up. You got help over the top, man. Help over the top. Be physical. Be strong. Be confident. Be confident in yourself. I know he's good. I know he's good. And I know you don't want to get beat on national TV. But doggone it, man. When you got help over the top, understand what you got, right? Okay. Now, let's take a look at this play. You see 4 here on the defense up top. That's the big circle. And then you have 3 offensive receivers over there. You have 4 on 3. This is what you call, it's got to be a missed assignment because you're taking it inside the number 3 receiver. Again, we always count it. So the outside receiver up there on the 30-yard line, the 30 numbers, he's number 1. Then you have number 2, and then you have 3. So then you have 4 here defenders on 3. Well, let's watch what happens because you're going to bring another guy over, and they're going empty, actually called 0. And what happens here is you have 4 on 3, but now you got to have 5 because you're putting Lee Koba on an inside receiver. Say what? You can't do that. Lee Koba's a stud, man. Lee Koba is one of the best middle linebackers in there. But anytime you try to go ahead and put that on a inside receiver, it's a bit of a mismatch. Again, I'm going to tell you, Lee Koba, that's good. I think he recognizes there's no way that they have to shift. You see the guy in motion. They have to bump it. They have to see this. They have to communicate. That's what we're talking about. Defense has got to communicate and say, hey, there's a guy coming. Shift right, right, whatever you want to call it. As Coach Dunlap was saying, apples, right? Or oranges, or green, red. You get the idea. And again, watch this. So you have 4 on 3 with the one coming over, but what happens? Lee Koba is taking it for man. I mean, that looks like, that almost looks like a Tampa 2 in a way, but there's not because there's 3 defenders going in deep coverage here. But you can't run. You can't do that. Cannot do it. Right there, I'm just showing it. Again, this is just for constructive criticism. This is why the defense suffered so much. And you just heard Coach Dunlap saying it's because you have all these new guys. And some of those new guys are from schools that don't usually play Big 12 type of speed. And that's obviously TCU. Again, watch Lee. He's got to go over. Man goes in motion. And you can't defend this right here. You can't defend it. And it's not going to happen. And you see my glasses right there go by it, blows by it. Beautiful throw, and it's a touchdown. That's called giving up the big plays. What did West Virginia's defense do last year? They gave up the big plays in the secondary. This is what cannot happen. And you can't have the middle linebacker on an inside receiver. They're scat receivers, man. Koba's 230, 235. You just can't do it. So I think I'm not trying to beat him up. I'm trying to show you where the problems came from with the defense. Now here you got man under, and that is it's going to be 2 deep, and then it's going to be man under, meaning is you got 2 safeties deep, and everybody else is covering man. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Again, this is not to beat up. This is to be constructive criticism where I can go ahead and show you so that you can understand what's happening. So you have the 2 deep. You see it across the board. Okay, they're deep. Everybody else has got man coverage. So if you have 2 deep, you can run with them and you can stay tight. It's the same thing I was saying before. When you're going ahead and you're doubling Quentin Johnson, the receiver, up top at the first play, you can feel confident I have help over the top. So he's not going to beat me deep. So I want to molest this dude in a football way. That's what I want to do. I want to be physical with him. And you can see here, in fact, if you look at the other defenders up top there by the numbers in the 40, they're all right there hip to hip and even on the bottom here. But what's going on here? It's not tight. You have the 2 deep. You have it over here, and you go ahead, and it's wide open. You got to understand where you are. You got to understand where your help is. You got to understand what the scheme is, and you have to understand what's happening and where you can be more physical, where you need to back off. See, it's all in the brain. It's not the body, it's the brain. And that's what I think is lacking. And you go back to what he said is that you don't have the players. So again, Jordan Leslie, yeah, we get it, man. We get it. We know your problems, but you got to overcome it because everybody's got to overcome that. And that's what we're talking about. And again, it's another first down on a throwing situation. And you have it right here. I'm just going to go ahead and show it. You got to be tight. There's no reason not to be tight. There's no reason to give him that much cushion, in my opinion, when it's man under and it's 2 deep. You got help over the top. You're not going to give up the big play. Play him tight, man. Play him tight. That's just me. Coaches may disagree with me, but I don't think so. There you go. Get there, make the play, keep it tight. and do better. All right. Help over the top. Here we go. You see that? You have help over the top. There's no reason. Look at everybody else. They're all hip and hip. Hip and hip. They're doing good right there. Hip and hip. But this one right here, you got to go ahead and you got to stay tight so you can make a play on the ball. And that's why you have 2 deep so you don't give it up. Russian 3. Now, I got to tell you, all right, I don't like this. I don't like Russian 3 because I don't think it puts the pressure on the quarterback. Every now and then, a drop 8, that's fine, but I don't think you need a consistent basis. I can remember on the coaching staff with Castile, and we put a 4-man defensive front end. We're going to bring Bill Kurlavich on hopefully soon, the old coaches. And when we rush 4 on a passing situation, and we rushed 4, we did better than rushing 3 because you put the pressure on there. You got off the field on those passing situations better because you put pressure on the quarterback. I just don't like rushing 3. It's my own personal preference. Everybody has their own opinion. I don't like it. The quarterback can sit there, especially if you have a secondary that you're concerned about, whether they're youth or experience or their talent. And if the less talent they have, the less experience they have, you better put pressure on the quarterback so that they can't sit there and beat you up. All right? And that's good. I think that's good for today. Let's go ahead and get out of this, and we'll go here. Now, so we're down there. I can see that we're almost out of time. And again, can I tell you this? You see this? It's Paul Minnie, man, running the whole show right dark. Lord help me. This is good stuff. And let's get to my favorite videos of the day. For this week, I should say, videos that I see. I hope you enjoyed that breakdown. And once again, that was really some cool stuff and some just little things. If you could just get those little things, you can stop a lot of things and do some good stuff and turn those games around. But let's go ahead and go. I want to show you this. I promised Scott Holly, the son of Chuck Holly, that I would go ahead and show this because they're all so excited. And right here, you're seeing this. Let's open this baby up. Okay, you can see here the Hall of Fame presenter. Wow, look at that. This is Chuck Holly, Bob Lilly, man. The Doomsday Dallas Cowboys defense, along with Chuck Holly. He's going to be the presenter. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for Chuck Holly to get in there. It's long overdue. You can see here to the next picture over to the right. It's the new version display of Chuck and his number up there in the National. I'll tell you, he was the only MVP of a team that lost in the Super Bowl. Only MVP. Think about that. How overdue? How long is it? That's okay. He's there now. But you can see here, up top here, they're molding him. That's Scott Holly. That's Chuck's son. And we had him on the show as well. And I hope to have Bob Lilly. I don't know what I just did there. I screwed it up. Okay. And down here, you can see Chuck is just getting his HOF, Hall of Fame coat. That's just cool. And we'll keep moving on here. My favorite videos of the week. And here we go. All right. This is some good stuff too. You want to, I want you to see this. This is funny. And I'm going to go ahead and put this up. We're going to go wide. Okay. This was on We Are Big Guys. I picked this up. It says, please have a moment of silence with him for the lineman during camp. This is black turf. Can you imagine the heat? This is in Morrisville for a lineman during camp. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I feel you. I'm totally feeling it. All that heat. I love it. I wouldn't love to be on that field. I would hate it as an old offensive lineman. Now, here's something here. You got this receiver going in motion, and he's going pretty quickly now. So the defender's got to be right with him and make sure he can stay with him. But you got to be under control. That's like what I was talking about the other guys in the defense, that when you're going man coverage, because it's man, and that's telling the quarterback it's man right there. But you got to be under control, and you got to keep everything over your center gravity and bent. Watch the extension of the defender. The receiver's low. He's bent. He's crawling down. But watch this. The defender just got lazy in his mind, and he's standing straight up and he's running. Well, look what happens. Oh, yeah. Easy, man. Easy pickings. Because the defender, again, watch it right here. Watch him stand up. He's totally upright. You got to stay in that defensive position. You got to play at a different level. That means that your knees got to be bent, that your hips got to be squatted in a certain way, and do it. Again, hey, I was an offensive lineman. Would I do that? No, that's not me. But we're telling you what DB's got to do. I'm just coaching up and telling you the way it is. Excellent job by the receiver. Oh, how about this? Right here. This is some good stuff. Watch the return. Oh, man. Remember this? Oh, my gosh. What a kickoff return. What an athlete. That is. Did you see how low he was running too, by the way? Oh, my gosh. Oh, here we go. Check this out. The Mike Leach scissors concept. This is a trio right here. It's a trips, right? So watch them come off, and you see right here, the scissors. They're crossing each other. And again, what did we say with Coach Dunlap? You sit back there, you only rush 3, and you tell those receivers, go to where the opponents are not. That's the air raid. That's it. And with Mike Leach's scissors, it's just cross it up. It's just a simple cross up. Oh, the power is on, I think. Oh, beautiful. Now you can see me. Okay, well, regardless, let's finish this up here. And that looks beautiful. Oh, I can feel the air conditioning starting to come on. All right. Again, watch the scissors here now. Watch. Look at, okay, look. So you got low, then you have 2 guys going high, and they're going to cross. Oh, man, they're going to run to where the opponent's not. Easy pickings for the defender. Or for the quarterback to see, excuse me. And right there into the end zone. Right there, where it's not. Very nice. And, oh, look at this. You know I had to put a big offensive lineman in there, right? Coming across. Oh. Get you some, man. Get you some. Here we go. Slow motion. Right there. Oh, wow, whack. Oh, here we go. How about this? Twin switch. It's a bluff. This is smoke. Sit. Watch. Oh, they did a bluff. That is beautiful. When's the last time you've seen that? I want to see more of that. They think it's going to be basically a pick. And what happens is the defender goes and he takes the other one, but the other guy's too late. There you go. Oh, I love it, love it, love it. Oh, and now here we go. This is what I want to know is, what is the best steak in West Virginia? What is the best steak? I've had a few, as you can tell, but I've had my own few, and I tell you, I like these steaks. Go ahead. This is in the stockyards of Kansas City. Looking at this, I want to know from you, what are the best steaks in West Virginia? I want to hear from it. Go ahead. We got the WolfMan's Call Network. I know you guys serve some excellent steaks right now. What do we got going on, man? Check it out. That's pretty sweet. Gotta like it. We're going to get out of this here, and we're going to take it back. Oh, man. So let's go ahead. That's going to be about it for today and wrap it up. But what can I do? Does anybody want to get on the line here and talk? Anybody want to get on? Let's see. I'm doing all that stuff here. And let's see. Roger Dixon. Hey, Big Dix. All right. Roger Dixon played football as a Mountaineer. Big Dix, great to see you, man. I agree, 4 is better. I'm going to show you that. Yeah, man, that's just cool right there. All right, Dix, great to see you, man. Thanks for. And we're going to have you on the show, bro. There's no doubt you're not going to be on the show. And then you say, Kenny, we're going back here. We got blown coverage. Okay. Anybody want to come on the show? Here's the link before I leave. And I want to just put it out there. If you want to get in there, you want to go ahead, get on the show. How about with the WolfMan's Call Network? Any of you people there you want to get on? That's so cool. What else we got here? I got to go down and scroll. Because when I'm doing the breakdowns, man, I can't see all the messages coming in. But I will say this. You got a whole bunch of them. Because you're giving up too much space, okay? You want to be a 2 to 3 yard cushion only. Very good. That's what you got to do, man. But you know what you got to do? You got to have confidence in that. And if you got to give up 2 to 3 yard cushion, I like 2 yard cushion because then you can break on the ball because you got help deep, right? So again, you're in a better position about knowing what your thing is. I got somebody coming on. What do we got? Kenny, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing good. What you want to do, baby? You want to join the conversation, Mountaineer Nation?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead,
I just seen a lot of last year too much cushions and blown coverages.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's basically what I showed you, right? So that's what I was getting at. I mean, I think that's what you're saying, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you, Kenny, is it's about what Steve Dunlap just said. It's about knowing what. It's about knowing where you are on the field and knowing what your scheme is, knowing where your weaknesses are, and knowing where your strengths are. And you stay away from the weaknesses, but you apply to the strengths. And that's why you can actually be tighter on a guy in man coverage when you know you have help over the top. Now, it's a little different story when they call it you're on an island out there as a cornerback and you're on man coverage. That's a different story. But and
exactly.
That's a different skill set. But when you're a safety and you know that you have man coverage and you know there's coverage over the top, that the big play won't get blown, shouldn't get blown, because that's up to your teammate to help you out there. I'm playing tight. And again, so the deal is, you look at that. I saw Lee Koba running with an inside guy. And Lee actually didn't do a bad job if you watched it. I mean, for a 235-pound linebacker, that is not a bad job. So once again, that is cool, man. And you can see the mistakes. They need to fix that. That's what I wanted to point out. The Mountaineers need to fix that because if you looked at those mistakes, those are first downs or they're touchdowns, and those are critical down situations, and that we give up too many big plays, and that's what they've done. So Neil Brown, head coach, has talked about this. Jordan Leslie's talked about it a little bit. They feel like they got some older corners in there now and some young ones that are going to be good. I think Jacoby Spells could be really good. I think Andrew Wilson-Lamp, I think he's going to be a good one. And that's nice. But it's nice to have these older guys, but it'd also be nice to have guys that have been in the system. And that's the problem when you're not in the system and you keep changing spots. That's what Coach Dunlap was talking about, and that's what I showed there on there. Anything else?
Yes. One other thing. Last year, I didn't see a lot of play action pass. Needed to put that in more because, I know we're a run first offense, but we have to take more shots downfield.
Well, there's no doubt about that. We are going to be run. But see, here's so this is the beauty. And this is what I think is going to happen, because if it doesn't, then Neil Brown, I would say, are you crazy? Which I know he's not. So that's the good news. But when you're running the football, you have to have, I call it basically, I think Coach Dunlap would disagree with me on this, but I call it basically you have to have a counter to every play you run. If you ran a zone right, you'd have to have some kind of counter left off that zone action, right? Because you want to be able to go both ways and set it up. Well, I think the same thing when I call it the play action pass. I think you have to have a counter of play action pass off of that same exact running play. And if you go ahead,
more misdirection.
Well, but see, misdirection is what? That's the counter we're talking about. But now you're adding the game of the passing game being involved. So you could have, it's really a triple option, right? You could go regular play, the run, zone right, inside zone right, or then you have a counter zone left, and then you go ahead and you have a play action pass off of that zone. So again, you're giving the defense the same look, but it's a different result. And
which is an RPO.
No, not that's close, but it's not exactly the same thing. RPO is the run pass option, which is you see something that you have an advantage of. Do you have an advantage of numbers in the box? Do you have a disadvantage in numbers in the box? So you want to throw it out there, and the DBs out there giving them cushion of 5 yards. So again, that's RPO. It could be what you're saying. You're not wrong, but it's more. It's more than that. Did I make myself clear in there, Kenny?
Yeah.
You could do so much more and change it, because you can, instead of being a counter off the zone or a play action pass off the zone, you go ahead and you can go left with a run. A play action pass, you can do the same thing on a play action pass, because you see the defender, you see there's more guys in the box, there's only one safety high, meaning that there's a split right there between the corner and the safety, there's a gap. And you can do a slant right there, and you can do, that's an RPO right off of the run pass or the run fake. That's what you can do.
Right.
And I need to show more of that out here too.
Right. And I see one more thing. The corners, they need to be, like you said, more tighter. But I've always had more how you say it, when you can jam them up at the line. When you can jam them up at the line, you're messing with the timing. And that confuses the rest of the team, because you got to have them hands and jam them.
Well, the hands and jam, I like the rhyme. Okay, so when you go ahead and you do the hands and jam, especially as you see the 2 deep, right? I showed you the 2 deep, 5 under, right? So you had 2 guys in the zone coverage in the very back. You had 5 under. Everybody was man across. That's when you want to get up there and just jam the crap out of it, right? Because you jam the crap out of the opponent, because you know you got 2 deep. Say you get there, you miss, and he releases, you miss his release, and he's running free. Well, hopefully that guy who's deep is going to see that, because he's taking a picture of everything onto his 1/2 side, and he's going to see that defender coming. So again, that's where what I'm talking about. You can be braver. If you know your situation, if you know your help, you could be braver and get up there, jam, man, jam, 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 right? Punch him, physical, redirect him, because the timing of the routes is what it's all about. It's looking for the timing. And that's what you're talking about, and you're right. But again, it's, do you have the help? And if you're a good enough corner to go ahead and do that without the help, well, that's when you're really cooking with some great chicken wing grease. Okay, because that's when you know you're at the top of your game, and you got the best chicken wing grease there is. And those wings are the best, because you got a corner, or even a safety for that matter, but a corner, or the nickel corner right there, and he can jam him and not even worry about over the top. That's the players. Those are the guys that really go into the NFL pretty quickly. And you know, you look at again, Aaron Beasley, you got to go back a few years. Pac-Man. Oh, you got to get away from Pac-Man. I mean, tenaciously dog you, tenaciously. And they had the confidence to do so. You got to have that confidence to do so. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but you got to have the swagger. That's why they say you got to have the swagger to be a corner. You got to have that swagger.
Well, you got to be confident in the skills and the tools that you get. If not, then how are you going to be confident out there?
Well, that's the key. I'd be successful. You know what you need? You all need to be Deion Sanders. That was the most confident man I ever saw or met in my life. So be prime confident, but you better back up what you're confident in, because if you can't, then you're going to leave your team in a hole. All right, brother?
Leave them out on an island.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what they do, man, when you do it. Because remember now, cover 4, like Coach Dunlap was talking about, cover 4, it's quarter, 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 quarter. You got the 2 corners and the 2 safeties, and they're all quarters, right? Well, again, if that wide receiver releases outside of that corner, well, that's between the corner and the boundary. No one's going to help you there. So that turns into man. Automatically, that's man coverage. So if they release outside of those corners and a quarter coverage, that's man. And you got to remember, too, is those safeties, a lot of times in that quarter coverage, depending on the distance and down situation, they're going to be in that box hoping, like, they're going to, what they do is they tell you, stop your feet for a split second. And that'll tell you if you need to come up and be in the run support in the box, or if you're dropping back and being quarters. That's the difference. And what Dunlap was saying is that RPO, where offensive linemen or the guard or the safeties are keying on that open guard, that open offensive lineman, if he's coming in there and hitting the linebacker, you think it's a run. Well, that's why the RPO is such a screwball to the defense.
Right.
You know
And
what I mean?
see,
Is that clear? Or?
yeah. And see, one of the things that I learned when I played corner was watching the defensive linemen, which way they leaning. You know, a lot of times they don't show it until about, was it the second hut? A lot of times they don't show it until then. And so that's what I always did, was keyed on that, and I knew where they were going to.
Well, that's the truth. And the other thing, too, is you watch a lot of film, right? You find out their tendencies, and when you watch film and you see that they might give away a secret or two. I mean, I can always tell an offensive lineman, his hand, how much pressure is on his hand, right? There's a lot of pressure on his hand. A lot of times it's a run play. If his pressure's off his hand, a lot of times that's a pass play, right? So, again,
because he's pulling.
Little signs.
Right, because he'll be pulling and coming out in front.
Yep.
All right.
That's the same thing.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm sorry for taking up more of your time, but.
No way, man. It's what we're talking about. Join the conversation, Mountaineer Nation. All right. Thank you, brother. Sorry I was late today. This power outage, man. We did it all. Again, Paul and Minnie. That's what Kenny
Show
says.
must go on.
Right? There you go, man. All right, brother. Take care now. Have a good weekend. All right?
You too.
All right. Thanks, Kenny. Okay. Well, there we go, folks. Big Monday. We got legendary coach coming on Monday. Their big Monday is Bob Pruitt. Yes, the coach out of Marshall. He's going to talk about a lot of things. He wants to talk about Huggins' situation, talk about Marshall, talk about WVU. He's just a guy with a ton of knowledge. We can't wait to have him on Monday. And then Al Johnson's going to come back on Tuesday with DP. Darryl Prue will join him as well. We'll talk about development series on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to have Dave Duck Riley, the old, long time ago receiver in the 70s. Old like Dunlap, right? I hope he's still not watching. So anyways, up there in the 70s, and he's going to have his grandson, Sean Martin, is going to come on the show with us as well. Can't wait. Big defensive end, looking for a huge year with the Mountaineers. And then on Thursday, we're going to have the voice of, is it Morgantown? Motown? I'm not even sure what it is. The voice of Morgantown, the VOM, I think somebody said, is going to come on and he wants to talk about why he does the things he does, why he says the things he says, why he reports the way he reports. Is it clickbait? What is it? I don't know. Promised him that he could come on. He asked me to come on. He wanted to give his viewpoint. The WolfMan's call. Anybody can come on, just like Kenny did. Join the conversation. Well, if he wants to come on, I'm not going to turn anyone down as long as you're respectful and you keep it cool and professional. I got no problem with it. So there's nothing else. Boy, I tell you, an hour 17. If I'm not selling the heck out of this, I don't know what I'm doing. Paul Minnie's been charged with a hotspot over an hour and 20 minutes going on this, man. And boy, I am so happy because now we have power and the air conditioning is back on. Y'all have a good weekend. We'll be back on Monday, 4 o'clock. Legendary coach Bob Pruitt. We'll have some other good stuff coming for you, I'm sure. Until then, we'll see you. Let's go Parmar Stores.
Hi, I'm Traylon Davis. I'm from Jackson, Ohio, and when I'm back home, you will find me at my local Parmar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more. We are gold and blue proud, and we are Parmar Stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia. Always in stock. All many, the anywhere, anytime chargers, powering a connected world. Never buy AA batteries again. Rechargeable 500 times plus. Paul Mini AA USB lithium battery, as easy to charge as your cell phone. Sustainable energy. Stay charged. Go green, save green. Feel the power of Paul. Order now at paulmini.com.